All right, hello. Welcome to the Eddie Conversation Podcast. My name is Eddie Vigil, and I am your host. This is episode 68 of the show, and joining me today is Avid Eghbali.
How's it going, Eddie?
It's
Good seeing
going
you.
great, going great. Just to clarify, you've been on the show before.
Yeah, was that like your third, person?
You were guest number 2,
Number 2.
think. Maybe 3. I think you were 3.
I think I was 3 because it got me excited thinking about my company name because it has number 3 in it. And I was like, nice, I'm number 3.
Okay, that makes sense.
I usually like being third, you know?
You like being third.
I don't mind being third.
Oh, you don't mind being third. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So, yes, we haven't. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, I think back then you had longer hair.
Different hair. You had different hair too, maybe. Same hair. I don't know what you
not
had.
the same hair. I think I was like still trying to
Was it
grow it
shorter?
out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Damn, time has gone by.
So time is flying. To clarify for the people at home, you are a filmmaker. How do I better describe you these days? How do you? What's?
Man, you're right. Oop, I should put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I am a filmmaker, but to be very honest with you, I feel like I'm a content creator now.
Content creator.
I have not made a movie since Bated Breath, which you were our script supervisor for.
Mm-hmm.
And I have gone more into the music video direction, but more so I've gone into just shooting a lot of concerts and doing a lot of promos and, again, like, content creation. That's kind of all. And you know what's funny enough? It's actually not for me. I haven't even been creating content for myself. I just get hired by other people to create content for them. I'm following the money, Eddie.
Okay. Yes. So content creator. Your STEM is okay. So filmmaker. You're implying that it's more of a create. All right. Sure. The creative. What? Okay.
Filmmaker.
You're making films, but it's more with the intent of.
You're making films.
You're
making films.
Okay.
I feel like it's different. It's actually, I'm starting to realize this a lot more because although, let's say, our processes could be similar, that we have to go through a pre-production phase and we shoot it and then we have to edit it and all of that you could consider as the process for filmmaking. I think what really defines these subjects, now that I'm figuring it out, is the content that you're actually recording, that you're actually filming. So I feel in the sense of filmmaking, which is telling a narrative story, it's telling something that carries a lot of emotion, entertainment. I feel with content creation, although you could still have the form of entertainment in it and there's like a small narrative aspect to it, it's not drawn out as long. It's not capturing it in a way of where like a movie would be. You're either creating content to advertise something, you're either creating content to advertise yourself, or you're creating content to be informative about something. So it's a little bit less, I feel, of like, I don't want to say artistic, because it's actually, sometimes it's even harder to create something that's shorter, like a 6-second video or a 10-second video is a lot harder to do. But
yeah, it's got its own challenges for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel that it's very much, I don't know, it sounds like I'm like dissing content creators right now.
You are. Well, no, I mean the whole point. There's an old adage. I forget what it is. I have to pull it up. I'm gonna ruin it right now. Let me. I'm gonna find it. Okay. There's this thing about directors, and there's 2 types of directors, and I'm gonna try to talk and buy myself some time. And I found it right here.
Nice.
So how many kinds of directors are there? There are 2 kinds. Those who make artistic pictures and those whose pictures pay. So you're
Nice.
If anything, you're in the
paying category.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm over here making the artistic pictures, but
Well, I think what I mean is like I'm following the money is because I got put into a position where now I have a studio
Yeah, I want to talk about all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we could definitely get into it. But, you know, I have a lot more expenses now, and money is a lot more of a necessity now, not just to take care of myself, but to just pay off bills. And
Yeah.
it kind of, I kind of just got pushed into it because I feel like there is more money in it, and because you're also working for other people. A lot of the time with filmmaking or film, you know, directing, you're kind of the person who's hiring yourself to do the project, and there's really no money in that until the long run. So I think that that's mainly of why I'm saying chasing the money. I never got into this job because of the money. It's only now that I have a studio and there's, you know, there are things that I need to, you know, there are bills to pay, that things got a lot more serious about taking the finance aspect of this job seriously.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I guess that's yeah. I mean, you're segueing us in there naturally, but talking about like last time we chatted, I remember
Mhm.
we ended the conversation like towards the end. I don't know. You're talking about how you were looking to open up the studio soon,
Yeah.
and you just want to get the name out there. Three Lines Studio.
Yeah. And I didn't really think about it until after I realized people are really like missing the S, that I'm have to be in like three lines.
Yes, it's a Three Lines because yeah, the S blends in with studio, so
Yeah,
Three Lines Studio.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to know, I guess, is I'm very curious as to this is. I have a broad question just to bring us into it, but opening up your own studio, how is it how's it been, and how does all that go down? And I'm because I know a little bit. We see each other on occasion and
Yeah.
stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, start
It,
us from the beginning too. I don't know, just
yeah. How do you like get into it? Well, I I was more being a location representative for a bunch of other studios. There was a time where I think when COVID came in that I stopped position for that, and oh no, to take this back, I was a PA for the studio called Naked Eye Studio, and I got really close with the owner of that studio, and when COVID came, I wasn't getting any jobs for production, and so I just messaged her and said, "Hey, do you need like a location rep?" And she said, "Yeah," and everything kind of took its own way of where I got to be like learning how to run a studio. And a lot of the times you're just watching Netflix in the office until someone comes and says, "Hey, do you have the electrical layout to this place? We just tripped the circuit."
right, yeah,
Yeah, like so
yeah.
something like that. And so as soon as I saw that, and I kind of did that for about 1 year, and then there was a time where I was also doing a lot of photo shoots and a lot of the videos and stuff in my bedroom, and it became a thing where I would be trying to get the light higher, and then I would hit the ceiling.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
then it was like, okay, if I could find a place that's affordable and all of that, then take out a loan, have a little bit of help from my parents, and be able to, you know, have my own location. And that's kind of like what really brought it like into existence. And I would say the worst part about it that I feel like I struggled with was the construction aspect of it, like going through demolishing the place of what it was before to then rebuilding it to what it is now.
Okay,
That was difficult.
okay. So how in terms of process on finding a studio in the first place, so you set your mind out to you were I don't know how you're
How do
dipping
you find a
yeah so
location?
you're dipping your toes in the water on like all right, I'm looking for a studio to jump into this new endeavor with, and it's a whole, I mean, it's a whole commitment for sure.
Yeah.
So when let's just say when you're touring this space specifically, because we're currently here at Three Lines
Yes, we are.
Studio. How did so yeah, there's this main stage area, and there's some other rooms and like your office space and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
when you walked in, how did you know this was the one? And then how did you know what work needed to be done? Like, yeah.
When I walked in, I thought I was gonna put a 30-foot cyc wall in this 800 square foot space, which is not possible.
Okay.
So when I walked in, the thing is, I really didn't know exactly how things were going to be done. To be honest, it was more about finding a space that was within a budget, and this place fell into that. But when I really walked in, I had a lot more of a imagination of other people's studios and studios that I got to work on and see. And I kind of like thought about it, how could I apply it to this? And there were some things did work out, but some things kind of did not work out. For instance, right in that corner, which you guys can't see, but in that back corner, I was thinking of putting a cyc wall. And then I realized if I put a cyc wall there, no one really is going to be able to shoot because the width of this place isn't as big enough as it could be.
Okay.
Right, like because you would want a certain distance away with the tighter. If you're going to use a tighter lens, you got to consider focal length and all that kind of stuff with film.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify for people at home on what a cyc wall is, because it's kind of specific to studio spaces, I feel like.
Yeah.
How do you describe a cyc wall for people?
A cyc wall it's basically a wall, but it feels like there's an infinity-ness to it. It feels like it's endless, and typically they're white, but you could actually paint them like a green cyc wall and be using it as a green screen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the idea that you don't see the edge of the wall. There's like an infinity room kind of illusion to it.
Yeah, you can light it, and it's just white.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I guess like physically being, I guess just for the over clarification on the cyc wall, I don't even know I don't know how those things are built, but it's just like a sloped wall, so you don't have the corners there. It's
right. They're basically curvy. The wood is curved out,
mm-hmm.
and then they put basically mesh first, and then they cover that up with some other plaster, and then that's what ends up creating that look. But yeah, it's like a curvature on the edge of the wall that goes from top, bottom, curves down.
Yeah, and you need I guess you need it makes sense that you need a certain amount of space to kind of properly go through that process, which I never
actually
thought
that was a
about.
great point, because that was what I realized was the curve for this place. It would curve out too far out, and then I would lose a lot of the floor space for production to actually be placing their cameras or their lights and all that kind of stuff. And basically I came to a point where I realized I should not do a cyc wall in this place. What I should do is paint the entire space black and create it as a black void, because I know that actually is something that a lot of people would love to shoot in, is this black abyss environment, a lot of moody stuff. People use it for a lot of moody interrogation scenes. It's been used in a lot of cool ways that I've seen it so far, but I thought that would be a little bit unique, is having a black void warehouse. It's not also something that's always popping up, because if you're looking at online and you type in cyc wall, you get a bunch of these studios, but I think it's a little bit more limited if you type in black void environment or warehouse. And that's kind of how I try to like make it like a niche, be very specific to my business.
Yeah. Okay. So,
yeah.
Oh, all right. And then I guess I'm thinking about all the other work that you had to put into this place, because I know you talked about the construction that it takes, and I know even like off camera, starting like before we're talking now, they're already thinking about more construction to do on the place. So
yeah, man, this is what I mean. Like I came in here and I wasn't even thinking the way I should have been thinking, I feel. And that's the aspect of where I would say you kind of just have to do it. And I tend to overthink a lot, and there was a moment where I was getting a lot of anxiety and I was falling into this frustration of overthinking about it. And, even though that happened, I still made mistakes. I realized I just don't have an equipment room. I don't have a big enough equipment room for a bunch of all my gear, and I actually purchased a lot more gear to have at the studio, and that was a realization. So I'm going to go through another construction where I'm going to be putting up a wall and creating another room.
Yeah.
So
I guess what I don't know how much further I want to jump into describing of the space itself.
Yeah, you could just go onto www.threelinestudio.com and see it, or find me on Peerspace or Gigster.
Yeah. So I guess the quickie version, just to clarify, just to get it out of the way, like you said, there's a black void room here, and then there's like that. How does this room described? Like there's that I kind of think of it as like the podcast studio room.
It is. It's kind of like a podcast studio. I have like the same curtains that Joe Rogan had in his studio, because I was trying to create a podcast environment, and to be honest with you, it's too big of an environment, which is also one of the reasons why I'm trying to make it smaller and have an equipment room in it, is because I feel that as much as it's cool to say you have a podcast room, no one has booked it. And I've realized that even us recording a podcast right now are not in that room. And a lot of people who have recorded a podcast don't ever use the room. They're using this environment. So it's
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's like another thing I learned.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, for us, of course. I mean, we're specifically thinking about we wanted to showcase the space.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could imagine if I cared more about sound or setting up certain stuff, would probably use the. Yeah, but either way, that's interesting.
Well, our case is very similar to other people who have also used it. It's the fact that when they're recording their podcast, they would want to film it. And this whole setup is a lot more versatile,
flexible,
flexible for being able to have a camera and a light setup. That room, you really can't put a camera. You're going to be so tight on people. You can't. The space is not big enough to be used for filming your podcast. It's more about just recording your podcast.
Yeah, just sound specifically.
So what I have used that room for is ADR sessions. Because I did put a TV in there to be able to do ADR, or someone has done a Foley recording where they brought in their shoes and a bunch of like different floor types, and they were just recording their Foley footsteps and stuff. So
nice.
That's what it's used for now.
Great. Okay, so you toured the space. You're like, after doing the full thing, doing the budget breakdowns and all that kind of stuff, you're like, this is the space I want to do. You came in, built it to what it is now, and how I don't know what I want to hear about people using it and how that's been, and what kind of like what you're getting out of those experiences and what your takeaways have been and that sort of thing, to open up broadly in that.
I would say the coolest thing about it is meeting other creative people, and also having people that I've worked with in the past book the space, or they're on a crew for the production that booked the space, and they come here and they don't know it's me, and then I run into them, and there's like that really aha moment that, this is my studio. It's like, it's cool. So I love that aspect of it. The socializing aspect of it is great. And another thing is, because I do first AD work, is I actually have a thing with productions where I say, like, you hire me as a first AD and we go into overtime, I won't charge you overtime for the location. It's because it's my responsibility that we went overtime.
Interesting.
You like that, don't you?
I don't know. I don't go into overtime. So. But yeah, if I were, it's like, oh, okay, great. We can do what now?
Yeah.
Sure.
Again, that's more of me trying to be a very specific. I'm trying to have it be a very specific business and a brand.
That is so okay. In that scenario, how does that work? Do you get brought on as a first AD first, and then they're looking for spaces, and you recommend your own?
So far, how that's worked is that they're actually scouting it, and then I kind of try to engage on how their crew is, if they've already have their crew, if they're still hiring crew, and through conversation, I do mention what I do as my job, and whenever I bring up first AD, they usually would say, if they usually won't say anything, or they would say that, we're still looking for a first AD, and then that's when I slip in my little,
You're like, by
prompt.
the way, no, it's cool. That's nice.
Yeah.
Nice. The little double dip action. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go continue.
So that's kind of been the great experience from it. Luckily I've not had a production where I've been frustrated with. I've not had a production that have damaged a place or have left me unhappy for even having them come here. So I'm very happy about that. There has been a couple of issues that I've run into with my HOA, and that's because I've also used the space to rent it out for events. And there was one Squid Game party theme that happened that got me in trouble with my HOA. Now outside of my unit, there's like signs that says no loitering, no alcohol, no smoking.
Okay.
All that. And the only reason why they have those signs now, out of like 20 years of this place not having anything like that, is because I came in and ruined it.
How bad was it?
It wasn't bad at all. It's more about the bad timing, because it just happened to be that one of the HOA members were in their unit at that time of night, because this was definitely after hours and everything, and they were there late, and then they were just driving down the alley, and they saw the gate open and people just loitering outside, and it kind of, yeah, it just turned into a huge, what you call like a safety issue and a fire hazard and all of this that they would bring on. And at this point now, I just don't do events. More so, it's actually why I got the furniture that we're sitting on right now, and I bought a lot more equipment, is because I just started catering it strictly as a photo film location, no longer events.
Gotcha.
So I don't have to have that problem ever happen again.
Yeah. Sounds good.
By the way, what you're sitting on, I rented out for about $90 for a production.
You rented it out to the production. Nice.
Yeah, that's how I'm actually like learning how to be a businessman right now. Is I'm getting things that I know that I would use if I was coming in to use the space, and then you just rent it out, and that's how I do it.
Super cool. And then, okay, so I don't know. This is kind of like for funsies. Let's just for the audio listeners. Do you want to describe the pieces of furniture we're sitting in right now?
You're sitting in a teal mid-century chair, vintage. I like to say vintage on almost everything. I'm sitting in a royal red. I don't know how to describe this one, actually.
You described it as a. Did you jokingly describe it as like a princess chair? Is that?
Yeah, I did. Royal red prince. I don't know, that kind of chair.
Oh, prince. Okay, that's better than no. It's whatever.
Well, if it was hot pink, maybe I would say princess.
It's very red for sure.
Yeah, very red. And then I just have a bunch of other furniture. Got the piano in the back, and that's another item that I got lucky with. I didn't have to spend money on that because my roommate was moving out of his place, and he's like, I don't have room for a piano anymore, so I took it.
Nice.
Got lucky with certain things in life.
For sure. Yeah. One man's trash is another man's treasure, as they say.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So how long has it been since you've had the studio open for how long now?
It's been a year now.
It's been a year.
Yeah. It's been a year and a half of just having it, and construction took about 6 to 8 months. And now I've just been operating it, and it's been about 1 year. And August would be 1 year. So we're coming close to a year right now.
Cool. Yeah,
it's been, again, like a great experience. I just need to learn more about marketing and all these other things. I got my degree in chemistry, which is far beyond like what I'm doing now. And a lot of this stuff is through YouTube and the internet that I'm like learning how to do what I'm doing, and I'm figuring it out slowly, but it's gonna happen. We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
And you're like, where are you gonna get there to?
No. Oh, you mean like what's the
end goal?
Sure, that's a great question.
Have another location.
Okay.
That would be like another having another studio space for me is kind of like another goal of mine, because I feel that I've learned so much from this process that the next one I know is going to be more of what I would want from a studio, more of what I would want in having a space.
Yeah, you'll be a little bit more attuned to the specifics of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, great. I need these dimensions for my psych wall. I need this for this. And you can
indeed
be a little bit more ahead of in the planning. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I assume, like, I'm just gonna take a stab. I assume is the other end goal to, like, you don't want to be the one managing the spaces here. Like, is there somebody else that you hire to, like, kind of like you said, the thing that you were doing before,
right?
Where you have somebody.
Yeah, I actually got lucky that I have that right now. It's my best friend from college.
Okay.
He's also my roommate, and he's actually he's been a location rep for me when I was touring, and that was a great thing, because I don't know who else would have done it. Another person that kind of comes into it is my dad. He's a champ. He'll do it. He's one of those things where, I don't know, like he will do whatever I need him to do, and I'm so grateful to have a dad like that, because I know most people I know most fathers won't be like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you have your support team. That's lovely.
Yeah, but ideally it would be to have like a roster of people, because if my dad is busy, my friend Alex is busy, then I am kind of screwed at that point.
Sure.
Would you want to do it? It
Yeah,
pays.
yeah,
I'm not gonna
no,
pay
no,
you.
no,
I'm
for
gonna
sure,
pay
for
you.
sure. Location. I've never done that job before. I have very limited experience with
Being a rep.
communicating with like just reps at all.
Got it.
But yeah, like you said, it seems pretty chill. With you just
Yeah.
here's the outlets, and yeah, don't touch this and don't touch this.
Yeah.
And
Can I just let everyone know if you're looking for a job, message me because I would love to have you on a roster. And if it works out, freelancing or you just need a gig or something like that, and you never know what's gonna happen. You could definitely be able
Okay.
to work at the studio for me.
Sounds great. Please do that because I don't want to know.
Well, I'm assuming you're gonna put my Instagram or something like that where they could DM me.
For sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
You could DM me. I listen and respond to DMs. I
Yes.
say listen because I love voice text.
Listen to the DMs. Okay. Yeah, you kind of mentioned it in there too. I wanted to talk about your recent adventures touring and stuff. It feels like you've been out of the country for a couple of things, right? Not just for one thing, or has it been for the main one big thing? What have you been up
It's
to?
been with like the same company, but for other things. I actually leave tomorrow to go to Toronto for the weekend for the same artist. I work for a Persian artist, Persian pop artist. His name is Ebi, and in Iran, he would be equivalent to Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
So he's like that level of popularity. And yeah, we went touring with him. It was a 2.5 week tour in the Middle East, which was crazy because I was born in the Middle East, but I've never gone back to the Middle East since I came to America.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a great experience to have. And it wasn't something that everyone gets to have because we were flying on private jets. We had police escorts. We had just I don't know, like limousines, like not limousines because in the Middle East it wasn't limousines, but it would be like a Mercedes Maybach, and just very luxurious.
Yeah, limousine equivalent, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
you could call it that. It's yeah,
Yeah, fancy. Yeah.
and that was just I don't know, like 2.5 weeks was like best time of my life, and all I'm doing is just walking around and filming, and that's something that I would never forget. Like I love filming, and I'm doing it, and I'm traveling. It's cool.
So you got brought on. So okay. Now, okay, yeah.
Were you about to say I got brought on as like what my job
Yeah,
title
yeah,
was?
yeah. Because you're filming, but is there? Yeah,
Videographer.
you're videographer.
And I'm so much more comfortable with saying that word now.
It's a great word. I mean, it's yeah. You were not comfortable before.
Yeah, because I think that before, and I've seen a lot of memes on this too, between cinematographer, videographer, filmmaker. It's like all of these have such of the same idea to someone who's not in any of the industry. If someone's in accounting, they're like, they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a difference between each one of those categories.
So what's the meme that made you feel bad about videographer, or was that what you're?
I think it wasn't really the meme. I think there was a meme that clarified it, which made me actually accept it and accept like the identity and everything towards
Okay,
it. I think
yeah.
I had my own preconceived notion towards all of those categories, and I realized there's really nothing wrong within any of those. There's nothing wrong within anything. It's just how you perceive it to be wrong. And videography, I'm very happy to call myself a videographer because, like I said, that's where the money's in. Wedding videographer, event videographer, concert videographer. You see how many like
There's a lot of
things we're covering?
Yes. So, okay. So for what is the difference between cinematographer and videographer?
I don't think a cinematographer would ever edit the footage that they shot.
Okay, so editing is involved in your process.
Correct. I think a videography position takes more labor in some case, where you are the director, you're the producer, you're the editor, you're you're doing it all in my head is what I see as a videographer, where cinematography, I see that as the niche of just controlling the photography and the lighting of what you're doing. There's someone else that's helping with the direction. There's someone else that's producing it. And that's kind of how I was breaking it down in a way. And, and as soon as I kind of had that realization, there was also that feeling of identity of, yeah, I do know how to direct it. I do know how to produce it. I do know how to edit it. And in a way, the word videographer now carries a lot more weight for me too. To me, it means I'm more skillful.
A little bit more of like one man bandish. It's kind of
Yeah.
But I also understand the stigma that you're kind of talking about with coming to having to accept it, where it feels a little bit. You're.
And I don't know. We both worked on set as crew.
Yeah.
And we just know how crew has talked about. I mean, I know how, like, for example, G&E team or, our camera department, how they have discussed like videography in a way. And I
Right.
think that was the.
Because you can at a broad stroke, you can kind of poo-poo a videographer gig is like, oh, this feels like a hustle thing where it's like, oh, you're trying to you want to be a cinematographer, but for now you have to settle for videography. Yeah, and that sort of stuff is.
Yeah,
but
you're definitely right about that. It's it's like as if you're gonna have to hustle more, and it might be for the same pay, or even little pay, but in my case, it's a lot more pay, just because, again, as first ADing,
sure.
Because I feel like a first ADing to the level that I was doing it at, it would be $500 to $800 days, where now it's me getting at least $2,000 to $3,000. Then again, I'm editing the content, so I could see why it's a little bit more. It's because there's more time that goes into it. But I'm also enjoying editing it. I find myself to be a fast editor, so it's a lot better than sitting on Excel creating the schedule, personally.
For sure. No, yeah, you're more. Yeah, okay, great. Well, congratulations on
Thank you.
being a videographer.
Thank you. Content creator.
Okay, so you got to go to the Middle East because like you're snagging. What are you snagging on the trip? Because like you're filming everything. Now, is this like all inclusive stuff? Like you're looking to promote their social media, like you're pulling stuff for that, or are you doing like documentary, or you like what is this stuff being used for?
Yeah, great question actually with that. So I had two jobs. I think the reason why I was able to go on the private jets and be basically living the life of the artist that we were traveling with was because I was shooting for his documentary. That was one of the reasons I was there. But then every time when we had a concert or a show, I was shooting their concerts and creating a recap video so they could promote the next concert. And that's more of like where I would say is like the content creator thing. I was just creating like 1 minute videos, and that's it. The documentary aspect I find a lot more fulfilling, and I think that that's where I would feel a lot more joy. A lot more joy came from the documentary aspect of filming it, because my whole experience was wrapped around being next to the artist, filming him every day, and that I think was the cool thing.
Is it just you, or do you have a team of cameras that you're also wrangling?
My boss, shout out to Naveed. He was the other guy who will be filming. He's the head content creator of the company that they're in charge of, and then he outsources work to me, and that's how we work together. So he was actually on tour with us as well. So he would play as the other camera operator. But again, it's case by case, because the show that we're gonna go do tomorrow in Toronto, there's 3 other camera operators, and I'm the one that's like leading our group,
Yeah.
So it varies depending on the job.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. The coolest thing, actually, because you mentioned if I had done another thing when I went to the Middle East, was that we shot a Middle East show that was 4 hours long, and I was also an editor for that, and I was also like DIT. We did a lot, but that was one of the coolest experiences that I've had, because I never actually worked on a show at all, and let it alone be a 4-hour show. And you're like, why is it a 4-hour show? Who would watch a 4-hour show? And it was because it was for the Persian New Year that the show was being created for.
Okay.
So, which is a huge thing in the Middle East, and that's where it was broadcasted. And that was just like a crazy experience because I would sleep for 2 hours. We would wake up, we would shoot the next day, and then I would come back and
sleep. Sorry.
No, I know sleep's important.
Sorry.
I just feel that I never got tested. I wanted to I felt challenged and I overcame the challenge. And looking back, it's so rewarding to feel that feeling, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so the show, when you said 4 hours initially, my gut was that it's probably, I don't know. I was like, it's probably 4 1-hour blocks, or maybe I guess it is screened as a 4-hour chunk. I don't know, but
It was like a 4-hour chunk.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know I did see you did post about that experience on your Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I know you posted a little preview of it, and also some cool behind the scenes moments of you pointing at different cool cameras. You're because there's when you're doing. I don't know what the show was, but I did recognize we see live television. You have your full.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't even know what the thing is set up. You have all the grids of all the cameras going, and you can
it's I mean, it's a video village on steroids in a way because you have 6 to 8 cameras, and all of those cameras have a feed going to it.
Okay, it's like a broadcast setup.
It's a broadcasting setup.
Okay.
That's a great,
yes,
great way to say it.
Yes, it came back to me because I know I was on a commercial recently where they had a broadcast van set up for the thing, and I was like, okay. Yeah. So I had to harken back to that experience, but. So you were involved in the broadcast space, helping coordinate stuff. How does that go?
It's so interesting for this because I actually got hired specifically because I was going to be one of the editors. We had 2 other editors. We had 3 editors. I was one of them, and it was frustrating. I was not supposed to be there doing what I was doing that I posted. I got permission from all the executives to end up being in that position because
as the editor.
Yeah, so I was in Video Village looking at how they were shooting everything because in my head I'm looking at how I would be editing this.
Yeah.
And the language barrier between people who spoke Farsi, people who spoke English, and people who spoke Turkish really screwed the pooch on this because you would have camera operators who are focusing on the wrong person at the wrong time because they don't know that that person is the importance to the subject of why we should be filming them. You would have 2 cameras on the same person, which makes absolutely no sense in the editing world. In the sense that this is a TV show that was being hosted, it was a live event kind of TV show. But when I say live, I'm not being honest with that because we were editing it.
Yes,
right?
But you're shooting it as if it were live.
We were shooting it as if it was live, and so a lot of the reason of why I was put into that position telling people what to do was because no one was doing it, and the actual director, Navid, he was on the set directing, not in Video Village, and so he needed me to be a second pair of eyes to be able to make sure that our coverages are actually coming out the way we wanted it to be. And so it was a cool experience because I actually got into a yelling argument with one of the people, with the main person who was communicating to all of the operators that was sitting there with me, and it was very heated. And there was a moment where I just was telling myself that I can't be behaving this way. So I had this whole mature moment where I realized I can't be talking this way or else he's not going to be listening and he would actually just be hating me more and the relationship would not be working. So I started having to change my tone, and it was just something that I feel because it was such a high stress environment that I got put into, I learned a lot more about myself and how I should be operating and behaving. And as soon as I realized that, which was a little bit more in the beginning of the whole filming, close to the end, I gave the guy a hug. We were able to be friends, and it just showed me the importance of communicating, and even the guy didn't speak English really, he spoke Turkish, so it just showed that went both ways in respect, showing respect.
That's lovely. I'm thinking of, okay, I'm stuck on a couple. Okay, I'm just curious. As far as the languages that you speak, do you speak all three of those languages?
No, I just speak Farsi and English.
Okay, so not the Turkish side.
Yeah.
And then I'm also thinking about, I don't know, I'm stuck on like little logistical stuff. Sorry, people. How many cameras were running?
We had 9 cameras.
Okay, 9 cameras. And on stuff that's that big, 'cause that's a big production.
Yeah.
Because every camera has an operator, every camera has their own camera team, almost
Mhm.
essentially.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there's the funnel of communication, which is like you were saying, the screwing the pooch on trying to figure out who's shooting what.
Yeah, I think I was explaining this to my boss, which is actually what got me really to give him the confidence that I should be there. Was I was telling him we have 9 cameras and we are not maximizing our coverage right now.
Mhm.
If we're shooting with 9 cameras, we're just shooting the same 2 people that are like, if we're shooting the same 2 people with 9 different cameras in a way, how am I going to have all of this ability to have all this coverage in the post room? Because I'm not going to be able to use that shot. And it was one of those things where I'm saying, I want to maximize this. How can we maximize this? And that was
Right.
why I was put there, to be able to tell, camera B now, camera A. Like, I was able to do all of that with
Yeah, yeah.
directing it.
That sounds pretty crazy. Um, yeah, because I mean, I feel like most people's exposure to that sort of environment is when we watch like news station TV, where they're like,
Right.
all right, cut the camera A, go to camera B, all right, see this. But
Yeah.
so were you guys editing it live too? Was there a live edit cut? Okay.
No, that's
Okay.
why it's all so sad, Eddie. That's why it's all so sad.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
as much as I kept telling these people that I am editing this, just do not stop hitting these buttons. Stop changing these camera, uh, you know, um, like stop prioritizing which camera I'm seeing on this screen right now. I don't care about that. They were under the assumption that this was a live event, even though multiple times people were telling them that we're going to be editing this, it's not live, because a lot of the things would need to be cut, and like there were some inappropriate things that were
Yeah.
happening that had to be cut. And it was one of those things where, again, language barrier, the reason of why they're here and the reason of why I'm here, and nothing was made clear to them. And it kind of exploded in its own way of, comes down to miscommunication and poor planning. And granted, to be very honest with you, they had 3 weeks to do all of that,
To prep.
to prep it. It was kind of that's not that much time with a production that was that big.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I understand it, and I think for the future, one of the great things is that they're definitely going to have me come back on, which is amazing. And I think I could definitely lead the whole preparation aspect of it too. So
Yeah. No, that all makes sense, and I like what you're saying about like the lessons learned of the communication and uh, keeping that almost like that calm demeanor, even though or like trying to because at the end of the day, the most important thing, right, that we always tell ourselves is we're here for the project. It's not about me. I just want this thing. Like I'm coming on for a specific. The goal is to cover this event in a way
yeah,
that we can make an awesome piece out of. And if it's not happening on the day, being able to communicate how to get there is the thing to do it.
yeah.
Because I'm sure that kind of stuff happens as a first AD too, though, where people are kind of fighting you on stuff, and or I don't know if that or yeah, but
I think it was a little different for me. I think for me, the reason why I couldn't really control my frustration was because I knew that what I do here impacts on how I'm going to be in the edit room.
yeah,
And I got a little bit scared that when I go into this edit room, I won't be able to deliver because we didn't do good in the production of shooting it. And it got me into this place of where I was like, the only way to make sure that I don't get frustrated behind my desk when I'm editing this is if I take control right now. And that's what I did. And I I think that beginning of that was because I wasn't even aware of my emotions towards it, is why I was more, like lashing out in frustration with the guy. But over time, I started to realize that we gotta be a team player, and it ended up working out. It was to a point where we were in the edit room, and I think the one of the one of the worst. Not one of the worst. One of the main things that I think I should have focused on, which ended up being the worst thing for us, was the guy who did all of our sound labeling did not communicate with any of us on what each of his little abbreviations are. And that was one of the biggest pain, was to sync up the sound, because I didn't know whose mic was what. And
when it was rolling or like any sort of stuff
the
like that.
The rolling was a little bit more known.
Okay.
But it was hard to identify the microphones for who it was. I think we had it close to about 500 tracks of audio, because keep in mind, everyone was laved up. So we had about, I think, we had 10 guests and the host. So we had a total of 11 people that had that had their own individual microphones. And then we had the actual surrounding microphone. We had an audience microphone, and there was actually a live band too. And each one of those live bands, their instruments got a microphone.
It's a lot of sound.
It was so much sound. And thank God that there's these softwares like Isotope and so many other softwares that was able to sync it up, that I didn't even know of until I learned it by doing the show, which was a great thing for me to learn, that we were able to overcome that. But that was my first day of editing, was syncing the sound, and I was pulling out my hair.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot. There's lots of directions we can go with that experience, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it in the sense that all of the worst things that I think in the moment is happening end up being a very great opportunity to learn from it.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking about an experience I had recently. This sounds quite familiar with. I ended up on a commercial. I think it was like a 3-day commercial. I don't know how many days your thing was.
It was 5 days.
5 days. Yeah, and these people had been prepping this thing for like many months, and it was just a 3-day sprint. And a similar thing kind of happened on our set. I showed up as a script supervisor, and I wasn't told. Like, I know I asked like the producer that hired me on, like, so like how many I asked my basic questions before I signed on to a project. I'm like, how many cameras are there? Are we doing day shoots, or is there any night shoots? Which part of town are we shooting in? Just so I know whether I want to take it or not. And I remember in hindsight that she never answered the number of cameras question, because she was like, I don't know what the details are yet, but we're doing these dates in this part of town,
you still signed on
it's
to the
definitely
job.
day shoots, and this is the rate. I'm like, okay, that all sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And I show up, and there's a broadcast van outside. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I show up, there's like a billion people on set, and I'm like, there's 9 cameras here, and
your job is to look at all those cameras.
yeah, my camera is to watch along, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? What are we shooting here? All this. I have to get caught up really quickly.
Yeah.
And we had post on set, so there's VFX, there was augmented reality going on during the shoot too. Like, some cameras had AR, like projection stuff in the camera for us to see where VFX were gonna go.
That's cool. Wow.
And then the editors were there as well. And then there was we were recording everything very oddly to, like, everything was just being recorded all the time. And there was no slating going on.
For a production that big.
We weren't slating because they were hoping to shoot it as a live event. And just, I guess maybe you don't slate normally. Like, I don't work in live TV.
But it sounds like both of our cases is advertised as a live event when it's not.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So they wanted it to appear as a live event. And then 2 days in, as like day 1, I'd start meeting the post-production people, and they're asking me questions about, like, so how's this working, and what are you guys doing, and how are you taking notes? And I was noting everything with time code specifically because we weren't slating anything. And then we had to argue. Well, we weren't. We had to calmly talk to production, and I got brought into those meetings with. I was the bridge between
Post production and production.
yeah, production and post production. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed that experience
Yeah.
because I became very important very quickly,
Yeah.
and I like being important. Um, but yeah, VFX was there, production was there, post was there, talking about we need to figure out before because the main event that we were trying to do this all on was going to be day 3 was the biggest day on the
Okay.
importance of the labeling, the importance of the really what are we doing here? We got to
Right.
fix all this. Um, so I was just thinking about how you were like, as the editor, you're like, I need to speak up now before I get to post, knowing this is impossible, or
Yeah.
we're not gonna have the thing, because that's what they were saying is they had like a 3-day post turnaround on this 40-minute.
That was we had another 5 days. So in total, the production was supposed to be 10 days, and it was a fast turnaround for us too, which was another stress of why we had to be acting, like organized and all that.
Yeah. So I mean, they had to compile all the footage, do all the syncing, put an edit out, so that way VFX knew what renders they had to do, and there's like a whole render time for all the VFX that needed to get done too. So they're like, so
Did you ever see the final product for that?
I haven't seen it. I know on YouTube I went and saw it was going to be like released the next week. They were having like they had a whole event booked for premiering it already.
Oh wow.
And then they were going to be publicly launching it the week after that, but I haven't heard anything. I don't know. Either way, I looked into it, but it was just a crazy endeavor, and I feel for the editors.
I want to meet people who are like leading these jobs because I do find them to be executives who don't know the process,
That's usually the case, yeah.
and they're obviously the only thing that they do know is how to save money, and then they get frustrated when things don't go the way that it's supposed to go or look the way that's supposed to look or sound.
Yeah, but I'll tell you the team was very professional throughout the whole thing too, which was really nice to see. Like these are obviously people that have been through plenty of projects, like when you show up on the next one for sure, like you're gonna know you're gonna know a lot more of what you're stepping into.
Right.
And when these conversations come up about you'll voice stuff way ahead of time on the next one.
Yeah.
And then when the issue comes up, you're like, no, we did talk about this, and I'm trying to get ahead of it again, and we need to fix this, and like all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how it was going on this one.
That's actually a good point you brought up about voicing ahead of time. It is very important to just do all of those communication and the preparation of when everyone's bringing in their gear to be having, when people are bringing in gear in the top of the day, to get in a circle and just talk and be able to see that all your ducks are in a row. And I think that in the cases of, at least for me, when I was with them, they were actually already there. I had just flown in, and I was more, and I was new to this. And yeah. I think on the next one, it's definitely going to be a lot better with how it flows and everything.
No, it's very cool though. Still, okay. So that was separate from. Was that separate from like the docu? That was like a whole different thing, right?
That was a whole different
but
thing.
same team ish.
Yeah, same production company that did the hiring and stuff. And honestly, this production company, they're great. I love working with them, and I think that eventually I hope to just go higher and higher within their trust to be doing more projects with them. They did give me my first music video with a Persian artist, which was cool. This was back in, I think, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool because I have family in Iran that know the artist, that then saw my name as a director on the music video for it. And at the end of the day, at least for me, my parents' validation for what I'm doing is so important to me, because I was supposed to be a dentist and I was supposed to not be in the path where I am now. And when they're getting messages from their family in Iran hyping me up, in a way. My parents then end up being a lot more proud of me, and
Yeah, yeah.
that feels good.
Making our parents proud.
Yeah.
No, for sure. No, that is very cool to, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, I guess I don't know, this is not really like a proper segue or anything, but the experience that you had, again, with the broadcast experience, editing on that, kind of being that creative voice in the room and making sure you're getting what you need and helping funnel the communication line between director to the broadcast space and all that kind
Yeah,
of
to the
stuff.
operators and everyone.
So just okay. So how has that affected? Uh, what is your takeaway on thinking about the creative involvement versus standardly being included as like a first AD, where it's strictly logistical? Have you has that how yeah I don't
As far as like creative involvement, I I kind of even see the first AD job of being creative too. It just also depends on the crew that you're working with. You know, I don't like the crews where I'm starting to see crew that sees the first AD as a person who's supposed to be the asshole, as a person who's supposed to just be giving everyone friction all the time. And I was on a set, I think, before I had gone on that tour, and I actually shut down because I had to be like that. I had to be aggressive, and I shut down, and I wasn't able to be aggressive. And we did go into 1 hour overtime, and I felt, you know, in a way, I kind of came to this term for myself where I don't really want to be first ADing. Before that, I was wanting to apply to a first AD program that would get me that would actually be able to give me a lot of these hours and experiences that when I would graduate, it would get me ready to go into the DGA as a first AD. And over the time of having that experience, I've actually kind of been backing away from that. I think I think the creative development process that you're talking about, I think I'm being fulfilled by that through the videography job by doing that.
yeah when you're when so you said you got shut down or you shut down and you couldn't be
I couldn't be assertive. It was I don't really want to give the production, but I'll give you the scenario of what was happening. It was
yeah
just with an artist who was also co-directing the music video with another director too. And the other co-director and I worked together in the past and we're really cool and we're great. We've actually have a great working relationship. But then when the artist got involved to also be the co-director, things really took a shift because all of my prep, by the way, was never with that artist either. All of my prep happened with with the other co-director.
mm-hmm.
So her and I were on this great wavelength of knowing what we're doing and all this kind of stuff. And then in walks the artist who's also co-directing it, who's then telling the DP what to do, who's then telling the gaffer what to do, who then made the other co-director that I was working with feel insecure about all the planning that she had done ahead of time. And it was my job to really step up to the plate to either do a couple of things, just really wrangle everything in and get everyone onto the same page, which I had tried, or be very assertive to the artist to say, there's no way we could possibly do that. And I shut down in the sense that I had this feeling where the artist already did not like me, just knowing that maybe he already knows that first ADs aren't cool or something like that, and there was already that friction there that I just felt like I couldn't take the assertion to tell this artist, we can't do that. Nope, no. And that whole assertion couldn't come out of me.
Okay, so essentially, I guess shutting down, you took a step back and you kind of just
Yeah,
yeah
it's not like I didn't say like, oh, I'm walking off the set. I just let the artist do what they, I just let everything flow.
yeah you're
And
like okay
the result of that was 1 hour of OT.
yeah
Not the worst thing, but that's kind of what we were
I
put
gotcha
into.
no for sure okay yeah a couple of thoughts I was thinking I've heard that a lot I feel like I've always heard that too where because of course I have first AD experience as well on smaller scale indie type stuff. And when I mention to people that that I first AD. I was like, I know how to first AD. I first AD, whatever. And then people are always like, well, the first AD is like always the asshole. Like like you can't. There's no way. I'm like, no, there are other ways of accomplishing the same
Yep.
job without having to be that kind of presence on set. And I explained my side of just communication is just the job. So as
Yeah.
long as you can effectively communicate to the team, you don't need. Yeah, why be
Why be a
yeah,
dick? Why be
yeah.
an asshole? I I agree. Before this experience, even I've had this thing where my code word, and anyone that wants to be a first AD, steal this from me. I think that when you're in prep with your director, you need to have a code word for when things are getting really hot, in the sense of you're not going to have enough time,
Oh,
when you're not going to be able to go, you have to move on. I have a code word, which is Chipotle. I say Chipotle. I walk up to the director and I say straight up Chipotle. And, since I had communicated that ahead of time, we're both on the same page that whatever you're doing, this is the last of it and we're moving on. There's no more of this whole, staying in the scene for extra minutes.
okay. And you're doing that to kind of help save face for the director, right? That's kind of more of the point where you don't want the team around the director to kind of understand that there's.
I wouldn't mind if the team kind of understood it either. It's actually more so I don't know. I have this weird way of, if I'm feeling this certain emotion, it's harder for me to go up to the director and say we're running out of time in a really nice way when I feel like I'm really stressed and we're not going to make the day. And it's really easy for me to go up to the director and just say one word.
Okay.
Like,
All right.
it's a way for me to simplify how I could communicate, because I know myself, if I'm in this stressful situation, my tone is not going to land the way that it should.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. I was also thinking about a time that I first AD'd recently.
Mm.
And you know me. I like to help people out.
Yeah, you definitely helped me out.
I like to return favors and support other up and coming filmmakers, and um like I ran a I don't even know if I talked to you about. I don't know. Last year I directed like a crazy 7-day feature film, and
In Mexico City?
no, that was here. That was here in LA.
Was this with Spencer and you guys went?
No, that was an 18-day feature last year
Oh, gotcha.
in New
Oh,
Mexico.
got it.
Last like October, November, I did a 7-day feature that I directed in Simi Valley. Um, so I'm just coming to say that
Mm-hmm.
I did like a little shadow program through that event, through that experience, where I came on so late that it was already precast, it was pre-written. I didn't my involvement was I was a hired gun to get this movie done in 7 days.
This now sounds familiar. I know what you're talking
And
about.
I brought on my own DP and stuff.
Yeah.
But I told the producer like, hey, this is gonna be this is crazy. First of all, this is
7 days to do like 90 pages?
yeah, full feature. And I was like, this is crazy. I feel like there's probably gonna be a lot to learn for people that have never directed a thing before or have little directing experience. So I voiced I would like to, if I could have if I could have somebody shadowing me through the experience, or like. So I had five of the 7 days. I had a different shadow on. I just say all that to say that I appreciated all the people that came out and donated their day, and it was lovely having a shadow that I could just talk to and like show.
Just to clarify, when you're saying shadow, like someone was shadowing you directing so that they could learn to be a director?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome that you did that.
So it was lovely.
Yeah, I love that.
So everybody was stoked to be there, and I was like, you're not going to get pulled away to be background. You're not going to get pulled away to do any PA work. Like you're here to just be by me, watch the monitor, and we can talk directing and all that kind of stuff. It was lovely.
That's awesome.
Probably like my favorite part of the experience. So all those people that came through, I think they're all awesome, and I try to support them further since I saw them last. So like I had one of them was doing like a 2-day short, and she asked me because she came out to help another buddy that I was helping, and she's like, hey, I'm doing a thing, can you help me? And I was like, yeah, I'll come on as your first AD. So it was essentially like the classic 2-day volunteer based project. Everybody's just giving their time. If anything, people are going out of pocket to be a part, like the DP's putting in money for gear or whatever,
Got it.
like
Got
that
it.
kind of stuff. And I felt like there were some crew members that were looking at me as like I was like a default asshole
Yeah.
from the get-go.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of, we only had 2 days, so I had to work very quickly to overcome this
Their perception of you.
yeah. And I was like, no, I'm here to support, her as a director, and I'm lovely to meet you.
Yeah.
And we got to work through this here, person, because this is not going good. And
Yeah.
do you
And
need,
who built the crew? She did?
She did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a lot of like the side conversation of let's talk like what's going on here, and eventually overcame it. And
Yeah.
again, we were hugging at the end and loved
Yeah.
the experience, but like there was that struggle up front with there was resistance, and I don't feel like I did anything to like I'm very confident in my abilities, and I didn't. So
Yeah.
either way, it was just I
Yeah.
felt like it was the first AD thing.
People
With,
just see the position as that kind of personality.
yeah, it's like you're gonna get in my way of doing what I want to do. So you're gonna rush me, and you're gonna tell
Right.
me to
Right.
pull back, and I'm like, no. I just need to know.
Which is so funny because at the end of the day, the only reason why the first AD is there is so that everyone could go home on time.
I'm just here to make sure we get everything done. I just wanna,
Yeah.
and I'll work with you. Just
It's crazy. I mean, some people maybe they want to go into OT so they can get paid more. I don't know.
we're not getting paid.
Yeah. I'm yeah. Well, in that scenario, yeah. But I'm now thinking like, is there actually like a genie guy that like is like,
Well,
I'm gonna try to slow this down so I can get OT right now?
I know on this one thing that was coming up, like I'm big on like these days I try to aim for like a 10-hour day versus a 12. If people are volunteering time, ideally less than 10 is preferable.
Yeah, I love that.
But again, I'm not putting any money into the project, so if there's other people that have put a little bit more into it, they're trying to get more out of it too. So I know there was some fears early on that some crew members were voicing to me, like I think we're moving too fast, and we should be spending more time on this stuff. Why are we going so quickly? And I had to voice that it feels like we're moving fast, but I'm just keeping us moving because we still have a lot left to do, and I feel like we're gonna hit some roadblocks on this. This heavier stuff coming up is gonna really hold us back. And I try to communicate that. I could tell they didn't really believe me or buy into it. And I was trying to just stay ahead versus use up all the time that we had at each moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up using up all the time that we allotted anyway. And
Yeah.
I felt very vindicated on like, see, like, you just gotta trust me. That
Yeah.
I knew we were gonna have some issues
Was that
on
the same production?
Yeah,
that
same
you
same
were
one.
just mentioning?
Yeah, same one.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's just I don't know. That's just a thought that I had with the first AD. First AD life is kind of tough sometimes.
It is tough, and yeah, I think every situation is different because like I was giving you my story just now about that situation of where I just shut down. I think a week later I did a music, both of them were music, but I did another music video, and that was just such a smooth operation, where you have the PAs coming up to you and it's like, oh, I really like you as a first AD. You have G&E coming up to you and saying the same thing, and it was so weird in how I felt because I think the week before I was getting a lot of like shit talk behind me regarding how I was performing as a first AD. And every job I think is going to be different. And I think one of the things that I should do better is asking the appropriate questions before even taking on the job, like how you just mentioned with your scripty work. I think that really should be a thing that I should do is pre-vet the job and see how I could operate in that environment and if it's fit for me or not.
Yeah. It's tricky. It's tricky for sure. I had a thought. I lost it. Cool. First AD.
What do you? Yeah.
I remember. Okay.
I was gonna ask you a question like, I feel like I don't know much about your life, but I also feel like a lot of people know what's going on with your life. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. You do all these podcasts, so I feel like people know what's up with you.
No, I don't. Yeah. What's the question? People don't know what's up.
Like, are you working on anything right now? What's
Well,
what's your
that's the
focus right
question.
now?
The quick thought that I had before I answer that question
Yeah.
is that I've shut down as a script supervisor before.
Do tell.
Well, it's just a classic situation. I call it classic because it's indie life a little bit, where when you're running behind schedule or you have too much stacked on your day, that there's, and I get it. There's just no time to fix continuity issues or give like, hey guys, before we move on, the line wasn't right or something was wrong here or
Yeah.
the something could have been done better to be better for the cut or whatever.
Right. Eye line, something like that.
Yeah, so normally like I just hate when we fall behind or like I was on the super ambitious project multiple weeks that was just like stacked every day, and that one broke me because I just never I could never get a word in because we just always had to keep moving.
What was your relationship with the director?
Uh, there was two directors,
That always ruins it in my head.
and they were both also starring in the piece.
Oh my god. Wow.
And they are not directors. So
But it was an ambitious project in the sense that it was a bigger scale of a production.
yeah, it was decently. Yeah, it was
Self-funded too.
They have yeah they have funding.
They had
Yeah.
funding. Wow.
So it was like they were great people. It was just more like the DP's great at moving fast. The AD is great at moving fast. The directors knew the story well and knew the characters well and knew the environment well. But like we're just chugging through so often that there's so much to track. There's so many characters. There's so much going on. And whenever I spoke up, I felt like I was like getting in the way of momentum or getting in the
And they express like some sort of, you saw body language that kind of gave you that frustration from them or something like that.
Yeah, you could only get like when I come up and I say something to say and it gets disregarded enough times, you kind of just get beat down.
Totally.
But that's I've been there. It's not fun.
Yeah.
And then I just go to Village and I'm like, why am I even here? It's like, who's this for? And then I cry. I don't cry. But
No, it makes you think about the position and like, I don't know. I'm at a place where I would love to see how really legit productions are being done, like a studio production is being done, because
still the same issues.
I would say so. I would assume so in a way, but I feel like I am, speaking of the whole like filmmaker going to videographer path and stuff, I just also came to a place where I felt like I'm in the same level of filmmaking that I've been that I've been in a couple of years now, which is the level that I'm at right now is, I would say, like the shorts that I'm working on are like 50 to 60K. So it's shorts that are big, or again, feature film, I haven't even got the full experience other than the project that we did together, and that's about it. So I don't. The reason why I was going towards videography is because I kind of felt like I was just chasing my tail and running in a circle with the film, and a lot of my curiosity still lies in how studio productions are ran from their pre-production to their post. Specifically, I want to see how they're doing their dailies, how they're doing their QCs, their whole like quality check with after they shot things, and that is something that I'm like craving. But I guess what I could say is I have no idea how to get into the position of seeing that kind of stuff. I don't know who to know to be able to get me into that.
I feel you. I feel like I know I definitely get a little bit of that through like the commercial work that I land as a script supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's how I.
Like, are you working on bigger productions, right? Like they sound like they're 100K.
They're still non-union.
Oh, okay.
But they're bigger. Yeah, like that one with the broadcast truck and stuff.
Yeah,
Like
that
that was
sounds like it's a
huge.
6-figure
That was
budget.
humongo. That was like probably 7 figures. Like
Got it.
it was humongo, and I love the catering. But
Yeah, those are, yeah, they cook good
um,
food.
yeah, no, I gotta yeah. So I guess like I haven't been on any studio stuff, but I know like the commercial stuff is essentially the same kind of people and the same kind of
Yeah, just
workflow.
shorter days in a way.
So yeah, I gotta watch the like the VTR, like the VTR people, the VTR guy,
What does that even mean?
video transfer or something.
This is like under the DIT department or something?
So yeah, they look like when I show up to set, and I'm getting better at telling
Seeing them.
who's DAT and who's VTR. The VTR is specifically just there to handle video feed.
Like the feed that's like from the
Like
tear deck, like the live feed
yeah,
that's
like
going
on standard narrative, the second AC is connecting cables to the video village, and
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time they move, camera has to move the video village
Yeah,
over.
yeah. So they do
VTR
that.
does that.
No way.
And then they
Did
have
not know that.
wireless feed going because there's so many people that need
Oh,
to see it.
yeah, that are probably not even on set.
Yeah, there's
That they're
agency,
broadcasting
there's
through.
the client,
Right.
there's video village for them.
Right, right.
And then they do playback as well, like video playback. There's camera doesn't do video playback, VTR handles video playback.
Got it.
So whenever somebody says cut and then director wants to watch playback, they run back to village, talk in a little microphone. Hey VTR, can we see playback on this? Can I show the or no, we'll take before, and then the other dudes just
Dude,
play
that's cool. That's cool. You
So-
got to see that.
so it's lovely.
And you just got to teach that to me and
Yeah.
everyone else.
So yeah, so my job is like I get feed from them too. Like I have my iPad sync to their Wi-Fi.
Cool.
And I have my own feed, and then I pull images from it for my reports and stuff.
Right.
But getting you that experience, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool stuff to see, and I have lots of takeaways from that for sure.
Yeah, the experience I think it's more wanting to see like when I'm talking about like filmmaking, I even just would even be content with a TV show format of how they're running and operating it too.
That's big time.
Yeah, it's more in that way. But I mean, how do you see this whole process in your journey right now? Because I look at you as a self-made filmmaker and you really grabbing everything. Pardon my French. Can I cuss on this or no?
Sure, go for it.
You grabbing your own balls and taking it.
Cussing. Okay.
Yeah, but you really taking charge in creating your own stuff, and you created it to be a feature length. You've done multiple now, and you've gotten them on platforms to be streamed. And so in the sense that we're kind of both in the position of where we haven't seen a studio level execution of projects, how do you feel about that, and where do you want your journey to go, and how do you see it being carved out?
Okay. Big questions. I like it. Okay, my journey. I feel like I'm at. I don't know, this probably feels. I feel like I'm at a. There's a bridge in the distance that I see I need to cross to get more into that space, because I feel like I'm kind of running towards the end of the road on my current planned path, and I'm afraid of what I'll do after all this kind of comes to an end. Because yes, it's what's on the inside, which you were a part of. Yeah, we released that last year, and that was a lovely experience on getting that distribution and stuff. And then I shot the feature in New Mexico, which I'm trying to get that just completed in general. Still, it's been a year since we shot that.
Right.
And I'm have a meeting with the VFX guy tomorrow to, like, VFX is our final piece of the puzzle. There's a few shots that just were designed to have VFX,
Gotcha.
which I've never had in a project before.
Yeah, yeah.
So doing that, I know score is getting done, the audio mix is being handled, color is being handled. So we're getting there.
Right, right.
But then when that's done, the plan is to push for the festival run, which I've never done before either.
With a feature selection.
With a feature.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I know I've had my own conversations with filmmakers that I look at their stuff and I'm like, oh, hey, like we're somehow following each other on Instagram, and I notice that you've produced 4 features that have gone to Sundance. Can I chat with you about how you did that, and like any advice on how do I have a successful festival run?
Yeah.
So I chatted with that guy, that producer, and he's awesome, and he's worked with a bunch of cool people and all that stuff. And I know his biggest advice to me was, because I didn't tell him that like the New Mexico feature, we're maybe spending like less than 20K to have made that feature. And he's like, if you only spend like 50K or even less than that on a feature, what you still want to do is you need to spend money and pay for a publicist. Is like that was his biggest piece of advice. Is like 5K on a publicist. Like just put that money, get that money, pay for a
Wow.
publicist.
I didn't even think about that.
So that's what I'm gonna try on this one. When it's done, he said wait till the movie is fully complete. Wait until it's fully complete. Find a publicist that believes in the movie and believes in like the story behind the movie too, that's what's gonna get the thing traction.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm waiting for the movie to get done. I have the money in place, and I'm desperate to see how this goes with having some publicity help.
Yeah, and you're not worried about the publicity help and the fact that you're trying to take it in the festival circuit to
It's
Crossfire.
it's all one and the same.
So it would even help, so basically the publicist would help navigate how the film is being advertised to these festivals. That's cool.
Yeah,
Great.
So essentially, the chances increase to get into Sundance at all. Let's just say hypothetically, that specific festival with the help of a publicist versus just submitting it.
Wow.
And essentially, like the
Yeah.
publicist will have the connections to get it in there at all in the first place too. With like, hey, check the thing, like that sort of stuff. The
Totally.
behind the scenes stuff that
Totally.
we all know happens anyway. But like that's
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
paying for that is like either way, this second feature number 2, I'm doing that with. Who knows how that's gonna go down? I don't know.
From how you've pitched to me your second feature, I also feel like it'd be really receptive to a Sundance audience.
I hope so. It's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
I just love how I mean it's discovering a man's mind in a way, and it's not, I don't know, I feel like it's discovering it in the way that we are today, like in the modern day, which is a really progressive, developed male figure of how they would want to be, like equality with women. They're like a feminist, but they're a guy, and
Yeah, I mean,
exploring that.
yeah, the movie explores.
Me speaking about the movie for you.
The movie explores the relationship between a man and a woman in today's day and age.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like that's the undercurrent of the whole movie. Is she's a very confident woman, knows what she wants, very outspoken, not afraid to share her opinion, and she wants her boyfriend to stop being so sensitive and like be a man and like do all these things and what. So it's the back and forth is like what is his expectation of what is a man to him, what is a man to her, what is a woman to him, what is a woman to her, and how do we communicate that in just a relationship. And it's everything is kind of, we're trying to break molds and also fit in molds at the same time, so it gets a little tricky.
Yeah, and I find it to be very relatable. I find myself to be very sensitive.
Me too. I don't know why this character is going through that. So I'm super excited about that one. The score is beautiful. It's going to be great. The score is looking great.
That's awesome.
Max is wonderful as the DP. So there's that track.
Mm-hmm.
There is, through the whole process of making that movie, I was able to come into contact with a financier who's funding a short film I'm directing this month.
Right. And was this what you're doing with Jamie?
Yeah, me and Jamie are co-directing it.
Right.
And this one is kind of like a trauma catharsis kind of piece.
Yeah, and it's kind of through the book, there's a diary that you were using to refer to a
Kinda,
lot of
yeah, yeah. It's
the
based off
stories.
of some actual real materials, and we're dramatizing it and fictionalizing it and kind of pulling from this in. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, so it's turning into like a 4-day short that we're gonna go shoot in New Mexico for.
Nice.
And then ideally,
Yeah.
because it's 14 pages, and ideally the post process is quick on it because we have a budget. Ideally, I'm doing the festival run with this feature and the short at the same time, and I have both doing I'm doing both
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously.
Yeah, and I guess in my head, like it sounds awesome to be doing both, but at the same time, do you feel like there could be a moment where it could hurt you that you're doing both at the
I
same
have no
time?
idea.
So this is the experiment
Because
process
they're
with it,
totally different films. One's just
right?
super. The short is just pure dramatic film. It's like a gut wrencher, sad catharsis
Right, right.
piece, and the other one is meant to be like a comedy, lighthearted with some like fun horror elements and some psychological elements.
Yeah,
But
and a little bit of a. I
so
feel like it's a lot. It sounds like a lot deeper too.
they're totally different. They're shot totally different, and
But I guess my question was more specifically. Of what my question was: are you applying the films to the same festivals that you're planning on doing? So are they gonna like look at two Eddies
well, one's
on
a
their
co
roster?
one's a co-directorship and one's solo director.
I got it.
So hopefully that
I
helps
could, yeah,
with the separation there, where this is a director team. But then again, like I'm not thinking about it too hard either.
yeah.
If
And I don't. I'm not saying as if I have
yeah,
a
yeah.
point or stance on this because I have no idea. I guess, like I said, I overthink everything, and
Mhm.
because it sounds a little like new and novel to be doing such a thing like this, I'm thinking,
Yeah,
what could
I
happen?
feel like most people, like even talking to other filmmaker friends, it's like I've been told if I were you, like I'd be doing everything I can to just get this feature done and out like that. They'd be it's like project to project versus the
I see.
overlapping,
Yeah.
which I'm crazy and I overlap and I'm like, well, I'm not busy with this feature. Like I have time to be writing with Jamie. I have time to get a short up and running. And it's just kind of getting crazy right now because I'm at the cusp of the ending of post and the cut and directly at pre. So I'm
Yeah.
casting and I'm trying to cast post and because I'm trying to crew post and crew pre.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit
It seems kind of
nuts.
fun though.
It's
I
fun.
feel like it's a little exciting because you're so close to the finish line and you're so beginning of the start line.
Yeah, there's overlap for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So okay, once that all finishes and the festival run is over, does this feature get sold? Does this fund the next feature? Do I pick up representation in any capacity? Or am I in the same do I feel like I'm in a similar boat where like I've got more in the resume and I've done more, but nobody's knocking on the door
Mhm.
and I'm like, well, I've already made 2 features for under 20K and I got hired on to do a crazy 7-day feature, but in order to elevate, you need money.
Yeah.
And
You need someone who trusts you with the money.
yeah, exactly. So I guess just building up, yeah. So I'm like, am I going to be in a better position where I'm trusted with money next year when I'm thinking over all this? So once I reach that point, I'm like, I don't know what I can do next. Do I just, I guess, submit to more directing? Because I've never like submitted to directing labs. I've never tried to.
Like workshops?
Yeah, like there's like the Sundance
Yeah.
Director Lab where you
Yeah.
get high class mentors to kind of help do stuff and
And in order to get into those, you have to show your previous work and
kind
kind
of
of prove that you're at a certain standard to be
yeah.
even accepted to this
So
program.
then hopefully it's like, well, yeah, you've done yeah. If I can properly again, almost like publicity, if I can
Mhm.
shape my image in a way where I'm attractive to a lab, and I feel like I'm whatever. That's like another thing.
I
But
gotcha. I gotcha.
who knows?
Yeah.
So that's what I got going on.
Yeah, I saw a couple of things that you said that kind of piqued my attention on how you're like trying to carve the path and where you're gonna go with it. And it also sounds a lot of it is trial and error for you and seeing what's working, what's not working,
For
and
sure.
adjusting to that.
The other elements, now that I mention it too, I forgot, like I directed a short last week just for fun. So I got to finish that and get that through post. But I put that on top of my plate that I was already doing all
Nice.
this.
Of course you did.
And then script supervisor.
Yeah.
And I have a deadline of August to finish submitting my days to contract services to go union. And that would be a game changer for sure.
So you have accumulated the hours to be able to submit?
I need
Is that,
to
or?
I need to finish accumulating the hours.
Gotcha.
I think I have like 2 weeks of work that I have to do within the next couple months, and I can go union.
When you're doing that, are you uploading like pay stubs and call sheets to be able to prove to them that you worked on that production? How does that work with going union?
No, that for the process is payroll. Payroll is the easiest way. Is when I land the gig and I go through media services to get paid.
Yeah.
Media services will send contract services some official document that showcases the dates I worked, and that legitimizes the dates through for them.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And if you're getting paid but not through media services, how do you?
If it's like a 1099 or something,
Yeah.
it's painful.
Yeah.
It's more like I have to write there's a letter template, so I fill out this letter, and then I have to contact production and have their producer sign off on it, and then I gotta like accompany that with the pay stubs and that sort of thing.
That's a lot, and you have to do that for every production you work on, with following that same steps.
If it's 1 day, if it's 2 days, I have to do all of.
For each of the days, you would have to do the same.
No, I mean if it's a 2-day gig and I want to submit 2 days, I have to go through all that same work.
Yeah, yeah.
So ideally, it's chunkier. Like if I got a 20-day feature to work in July, then that would be wonderful.
Yeah, that would complete it all.
One paper that showcases 20 days of work.
Yeah.
Versus.
Do you ever take the job depending on knowing how easy that's going to be for you on the whole? Like, I guess what I'm saying is, do you ever take would you take a job that you know that's going to have a real payroll company be paying you rather than 1099?
I mean, payroll is always better. It feels like it's a better production from the get-go.
Yeah, every time when it comes to tax season, it's like the easiest thing for me to take care of.
Yeah.
So I definitely see that.
If it's 1099, I'm just scared about the whole production in general.
Right.
I'm like, oh no. But I've been on some big 1099s too. It's usually like an out-of-state company, like a New York company will come in for a giant 5-day commercial. Like I know I worked for I did an Audi commercial this year.
Cool.
And it was my biggest gig ever. It's like a 5-day big chunky day rate, and it was very nice. But they did 1099, and I'm scared about taxes next year because I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That I should probably put away somewhere and have for tax time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yes.
Let's talk about this is our last topic, and we'll try to keep it. We'll see. I got yeah. I want to talk about writing a feature film.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
How to write a feature film and trying to make a movie.
Yeah.
'Cause I know that's something that you want to do.
Yeah, that's still something that I wanted to do, and it got put on the back burner after I got the whole opportunity to do the stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a specific question?
So the question, I guess,
because I think you know a lot.
For starters, do you still want what's your current goal with trying to make a movie? Do you still want to try to make a movie this year, or are you? I'm just gonna feed you. I'm leading the what's it called? Leading the guest. Is that the? Or are you kind of a little bit more satisfied in the videography. Like you're getting the creative outlet through this other work.
Yeah.
So it's almost less of a need for the priority or the urgency for making a movie.
I think I think the urgency definitely left my body a little bit because of the opportunity that came, and that kind of again falls back into something that I need to work on, which is my seek me seeking my parents' validation, that I find to be something that motivates me and something that also holds me back in certain cases. In this case, when we were meeting up, I had this conversation with my mom who was telling me, am I going to go back to dental school? And the only way that I could prove myself that I was not going to be a dentist was to sit down and write a movie. And that was the motivator in that moment. That was the urgency in that moment. And then my life kind of changed when I started working with this production company that gave me all this new opportunity that also fulfilled my parents feeling proud of me and that validation. And that only, I think, made me learn more about myself, because like I just mentioned, it's something I need to work on, is seeking my parents' validation, is because I still do want to write that movie. I still do want to make the feature film. I think the urgency of me saying it needs to be done within this year has just left me because of all this other opportunity. But nevertheless, I think that that's something that I won't ever feel like I don't want to go to my grave knowing that I didn't really do that. I really do want to write and
Sure.
direct my own feature film. And I'm saying feature because I've done the whole short world, and not there's nothing against shorts or anything like that, but I do find that to do a feature, it's a whole different beast. And it's a whole different mentality and stamina that you're going to need as a director, as a producer, as a creative person working on that film. And
Yeah, it's like training for a marathon versus like a 5K or whatever. Yeah.
exactly. It's like it's the whole process is the same, but the distance of where you're going with it is different. And again, that's kind of like where the identity thing comes in, because I think part of me calling myself a videographer is that I don't want to call myself a filmmaker, since I haven't actually done a feature film. And that's where I'm like starting to just identify these labels differently, and see that differently. Another difficult thing with this is, as you know, Daniel is my writing partner within this. And although I see him a lot and occasionally, it's just also been very difficult for him and I to find our time to sit down together to show each other our script. And in comparison to me and him, I've already written 5 pages of the script. He's supposed to help out with the other. 5 pages is the first scene. We were gonna go scene by scene. I do a scene, you do a scene, I
Oh,
do a scene.
gotcha,
I
gotcha.
think that was what we were
You're gonna do a
talking
little
about
bit of
doing.
like a handoff technique.
Yeah, well, we were gonna go scene by scene in order to make sure that we're staying consistent with what we're writing. Like, whatever he writes goes with the previous scene that I wrote.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And that's how I think we were figuring that out, and we got a little bit stuck because he was procrastinating, and around that time, yeah, I'm calling you out, Danny. Around that time that he was doing that is when I got the opportunity to do the whole tour and all of the traveling and the videography work. And then that's kind of what led us here, where we haven't done anything. I've not made more progress in 5 pages.
Okay. All right. Cool. Interesting. Regarding the, yeah, I guess that's usually like a question that I like to even like know for myself is I don't think about it too much these days, I guess but the why, on like the why are we making the movie,
Mhm.
and then like you were kind of saying it had a lot to do with um the validation and the almost like the validation from the parents on, is there confidence in me continuing on the path that I'm on,
Yeah.
and you're able to do that with other means, which is great.
Yeah.
So then now, ideally, I guess, yeah, revisiting the feature with the new lens of like, okay, now what does it look like if I'm just doing this for me,
Mhm. Mhm.
and does this get done at all if it's just for me, is like another question too.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, writing a movie is hard, And I know I talked to you and Daniel about different techniques on to try because I've written multiple features
Yeah, and you've
with
done
a
it
co-writer,
Yep.
with different
Yep.
co-writers too. I
Yep.
wrote one with Bo Nelson, the New Mexico one, and then I've written one with Jamie too. We have a couple in our back pocket there. So if you look at, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but yeah.
I would want to like mention this, that our writing group that we had for a brief moment in Bill's apartment was the most writing that I got to do consistently. And I'm curious on what happened to that. Why did that stop? I think I think I wasn't able to make one of them, and then from there on it just stopped. But
I think it was we were trying to do weekly meetups, or was it every 2 weeks? I forgot what it was. I know for me, because I was already doing writing with Jamie, and then I tacked that on top of it. And then for me, it was more of an availability thing for sure. I was more doing it because I had the time, and I wanted to support Bo, and I wanted
right. We were in the middle of like lockdown.
Yeah, and I was
or
like, yeah,
something like
let's
that.
get some track. Let's get these guys up and running. Was my take on it. But then yeah, as soon as stuff picked back up, I'm like, you guys figure it out.
Yeah. No,
I'm good over here.
it got harder for sure. But I think that I need some structure that you kind of provided me. And there was like a moment where I was like, man, I don't want to go to this today. And then I would tell myself that half of this is just to show up. It's not even to say that this writing that I'm doing needs to be good or interesting or entertaining or anything like that. It's that I just need to show up and be surrounded by that environment of where people are wanting to write. And yeah, I just remember I remember nights of trying to write to be able to hit the deadline of being able to send you guys the script so you guys could read it the night before we met up. And yeah, I think that was a really healthy thing that I'm happy you actually created for me, and that you brought it up right now. It's brought up some emotion of why I kind of want to actually readdress it and actually sit down and do some writing like that. Do you have any other groups that are happening like that where you're writing? There's no time for you.
I haven't done much writing as of late. I know even Bo was reaching out to me too about. He's like, "Hey, you want to write a short? You want to write a feature? Like, you want to write something?" I'm like, "I don't have time right now."
Yeah.
I haven't been. No, the only thing, like,
the only thing you're writing is the one you're getting paid for, which is the adaptation of.
Yeah, we wrote that. That was a lot of work. And then I wrote a 7-pager. Because I directed that one like last week.
Oh, right.
And we needed a script to shoot. So I sat down. I brainstormed with Bo. I met up with Bo, and he helped me talk through the constraints that I had. It's like, I have this location, I got this actor, I want another actor, but I don't know if it's going to be a guy or a girl or what's going on. And I want to have it be like this paced, and then we just talk through it. I'm like, thanks, Bo. I left, and then I sat down at my laptop and I wrote 7 pages one night. I'm like, all right, here's a short, and then we shot it.
I have a question about that. What even, because you didn't even have a script, but it sounded like you had all the resources you needed to do the movie. Is that what motivated you to put the script together?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the deadline.
Got it.
I had an actor attached. I had the DP attached. I had a date locked and a location set. So I reached out for all that first before I even started. Like, in my brain, I was thinking about, what do I want to accomplish as a director? If we're gonna just meet up and have some fun, what do I want to do? And I knew I just wanted to have like quick vignettes. Like, I didn't want to have extended, lengthy scenes. I wanted to get a lot of variation very quickly.
Right, more of like a montage-esque feeling. When you say vignettes, I'm thinking like a vignette, montage moment.
Yeah, and I wanted it to be funny. I wanted it to be more comedic themed, so it'd be like 2 lines and then new scene, 2 lines, new scene.
Yep,
so there was a back and forth.
Yeah.
Cut out of it immediately. Right. And stuff like that. And there's just like wacky stuff that happens. So like, I knew I wanted to play with perspective too. So I was just like, I want a thing where we're in a scene together and stuff is going on, and like, you blow up and get really angry, and then you turn to the camera. I wanted to break the fourth wall too. You turn to the camera and you're like, this didn't go down like that. Like, so you flip immediately from the emotion you're playing.
I
You're like,
love
this
that.
is not happening at all. And then we cut to us talking about what had happened.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, well, okay, fine. It didn't go down that way. How did you see it? And then we cut back, and now it goes differently because you're telling the story.
Yeah.
That was kind of
Fun. It's fun.
that was the early premise. So I did like these cool whip pans and
Cool.
to the whole time, and then
I feel like you are exploring what you could do as a filmmaker even more when, one, you have already done 2 feature films where maybe you weren't having the time because it was so long of a script to be a little bit more, um, I don't want to say creative, but a little bit more fun with how you're telling the story, like how you're doing it with the whip hands and
yeah,
the fourth wall and stuff. That I feel like you were able to do all of the basic foundation of the directing to now be able to do these mini short videos, but within them there are a lot more. It's like a lot more thought through. Like you thought it through, and you know what you want more, rather than kind of figuring it out as you go.
yeah. I know I've been inspired to try to more. Oh, this is horrible way of explaining it, but thickly layer a moment, like just layer the moment versus yeah, just have more to say in each frame versus needing a lot of time to say it. Like
Yeah.
I know I was inspired a lot by watching just a few things, like watching Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Mhm.
Beautiful movie that I was blown away with how much they fit in that thing. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Everybody's talking about it, but you should check it out. Just like the art in it, the dialogue, the lighting, they just they mash genres through. It just moves so quickly, and they do so much random stuff in that movie that
Yeah.
you're like, how do they do all of this and fit it in like a 40-day shoot? Like it just blew my mind. And then when I think about like watching my movie Trauma Days, which the second
Mhm.
feature, I'm like I wanted to explore comedy, but the comedic moments are very subtle and they're kind of few and far between. Like in when I watch it, I'm like, it's kind of more of like it, it's funny, but it's not like I just want more of those moments more often. So then I'm trying to play with like the short. I'm like, how quick can I get from
From this
I
part
want
of
to
the
speed up
scene
the
to the
humor. I
next.
want to have
Yeah,
more
I
humor
get you.
more often.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And you actually, I feel the writing was a lot of the blueprint to that moment, because you said how you're. It's like they say 2 lines and then they cut to interior, some like other location, and they're figuring out they're answering the question to the scene before it. Like that I
yeah.
feel is it's good that you had that blueprint to figure that out. Yeah.
But that was like the most recent writing I've done. I haven't done much writing, but that was with the
Mm-hmm.
deadline of I knew that I had people committed and I needed something to shoot, and it had to hopefully be good enough for the DP didn't want to leave the project, and the
Yeah.
actor was still excited to give his time. Like that was the whole
Yeah. And who
pressure.
DP'd it? Max did?
Yeah, Max.
Great.
Max came back out for that.
That's awesome. Max is great.
Max is great. Um, cool.
Cool.
So we're kind of here. We're kind of here towards the end, I guess. Just for segueing us into potential third chat in another 60 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you?
What I hope to achieve.
We just entered into June,
Yeah.
2022. We're halfway through the year. What's what are you focusing on next to?
Right now, it's definitely growing the business for the studio. I am really trying to do more advertising, more building the company and building the brand. I'm trying to figure that out even on what is the brand that I'm trying to sell. Obviously, like I mentioned, if you come get this location and you need a first AD, you can, as a first, like I'm trying to do things like that where I'm building who I am and what my company is. I think that a lot of it is also true about I want to write that feature. And if I can't do it with Danny, well, to be very fair, that story, that concept, it really was developed with me and Danny. But
Yeah,
I think if I could take away the idea of saying just a feature, I think I just want to do the writing that we did during the lockdown with Bo, where I was at least writing something. And, that I would say that's where I would want to go within the next couple months, is being able to achieve that. And yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking. I had a thought about the writing too. It is kind of. I mean, that's the fun part about writing, is it's really scary and it's really difficult to kind of sit down and do the work. But once you decide to do it and then you just sit there and you start writing, it's a lot of fun to see what comes out, because like you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fear part, is you don't know what's gonna come out.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the other fear part for me is whatever is going to come out, I'm afraid of the time that when I'm like, I write something good and then I'm at a roadblock and I'm stuck. And I think the reason why I'm saying that is because a lot of the pattern for my behavior has been that I write something that I'm really happy with, and I get to the roadblock and I can't surpass the roadblock. And so the script is just stuck and it's not done. And I think that that's the pattern that I've been proving to myself, is like how I'm doing it. And I think it's just having to still just push through and getting the words on the paper.
Yeah. Almost my gut. Hear me out. You don't have to take this advice at all.
Mm.
But I know you and Danny outlined the full feature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the outline is there. Now, I would say I would almost just be like, pull out random scenes and just write because you don't have to write the feature in order.
Yeah.
First of all, you know where it's going. You know it's got to get to the scene eventually.
I don't even know why I didn't think about this myself. I need someone like you in my life.
So because that's the easiest way to get something moving, is like, out of all these scenes, I have bulleted 100 scenes in this movie. Which one is jumping out? Which one is jumping out to me right now? Which one is easy to write? Like, which one do I have a vision for currently?
Yeah.
Or which one's just the shortest? Which is like just an easy moment. He's showering and he notices this thing, and then, all right, cool. Like that's like a quarter page.
As you're saying this, it's making me think that if I had thought that earlier, or if you had texted me that to do that, as if he's responsible for my life.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Then I would have probably been done with the movie by now with all those scenes.
Maybe.
But I love that you mentioned it, because it is a perspective that I was not thinking about, and I think that you're right. If I just, by a month or two, like there could be at least 20 of those scenes that are now completed that I don't have to worry about,
or 3,
or whatever. Yeah.
Because then I guess the ideal situation too is that you're excited about the writing you just did, and you share it with your writing partner Danny, and that re-inspires him to write his own stuff too.
Indeed it does. Sounds like you've done this before.
So accountability is my number one.
It really is, and I think for part of the time, I think Danny was like, "Dude, I'm scared of like meeting up with Eddie. I feel like he's gonna get mad at us."
It's like, let's just not mention it. Maybe he'll forget.
Yeah.
I don't forget. It's okay. No, I understand how it goes. It's fine. I'm not mad.
One of the actually other things with Danny that I'm doing, and with my roommate Alex, is we're actually going to be starting our own podcast. So hopefully within the next couple of months, we will be able to be putting out our own episodes and
very cool.
And doing that.
Have you guys is there a name for it? Or
it's called Therapy Bros, and our focus is within mental health, and a lot of it is the male persona and what it means being in 2022 with that perspective. I think all three of us single-handedly are ready to be stay-at-home dads and are okay with our wives making money and we're not making money. So,
and the wives are okay with this too.
Well, this is the thing. This is what your film would study really well, actually,
exactly,
as a case for it. Yeah, with your character, with the female character in your movie. But it's focusing on that, and I'm very big on my health. And Danny's trying to lose weight. My friend Alex is trying to lose weight, and I'm also just trying to get a lot better with it. So part of the podcast is to discuss our weight loss journey and our getting healthy, and hopefully that tied in with mental health and sex and relationships and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you haven't recorded any episodes yet?
We've recorded 2 episodes that we have realized we don't like.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting.
So like a little bit of a trial,
Because
tonal runs a little bit?
Totally, because none of us have really sat around, and also we've kind of like mentioned things that we shouldn't have mentioned because we never created boundaries with each other of what topics do we want to talk about and not talk about, and those are the things that we're kind of developing now. I think when we've done 2 so far, so I think our third one would actually be a good one that we're going to be putting out.
Your real episode 1 kind of thing or
Yeah.
whatever. Cool. Okay. So, with that being said, for everybody that wants to keep up with Avid Eghbali over here, where do you want to plug the best places to follow you?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Avid Eghbali. Follow me on TikTok at Avid Eghbali. Follow me on Twitter at Avid Eghbali. And those are the best places I'll be.
Yeah, and then make sure to go to, what's the website for the space?
www. No, that's too many W's. 3linestudio.com. You just type that in, but make sure you actually write out the number 3, like 3 lines. Studio.com. If you actually type out 3 like spelled out, you get a D&D website. Basically, the guy who created one of the D&D games has a website called 3 Line Studio.
Interesting.
I don't think I could ever buy it from him. I think he's pretty popular.
He's got some traction going.
He's got a Wikipedia page and I don't, so.
Gotcha. So he wins. Great. Well, thanks for being on the show again for a little sophomore conversation. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like and comment and all that kind of stuff. And all right, that's the show.
See you. Thank you, Eddie.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.